Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our Survivor Guatemala Rewatch, episodes 7 through 9. Alexa's desperately trying to find the Twitter comments that we left off on it. I gave her no time. I'm just throwing her out there.
We're doing it live.
We'll figure it out. So we had the first immunity idol get played in Survivor history, and really, the only thing that can be mentioned about this is Jeff saying no talking. To me, that is the ultimate moment of this season. It explains everything that has changed between Survivor Guatemala and Survivor Game Changers. This happens, and Jeff says, no talking, go up and vote.
Yeah, and it was insane because he says that, and they're all like, yes, sir, we're going to go up and vote. Like, they don't even try to defy him, and now they're like, screw you, Jeff. Actually, even though he wants them to chitter-chatter and have his live tribal and everything, but even if he wanted to stop it right now, he wouldn't be able to. He has no control over them anymore because they know that Jeff eats it up. They know that he loves it. Versus back then in Guatemala, they're all just like, "Oh, yes, sir. I'm gonna go upstairs and vote now."
Yeah, and you have like Judd who's like mouthing off to Jeff, and everybody's like, "Wow, that's getting ugly." Like, it's really crazy how much this has changed. Even the way the idol was played. Like, it's a great moment. I remember watching this live because Gary was going home. I remember watching this live and being like, oh, my God, this is so amazing. And Gary, that's who I was rooting for this entire season. I know my family was rooting for Gary. Gary was one of the only likable people left at this point in the game. So you're rooting for Gary, and he gets up and he plays that, but it still somehow feels anticlimactic because you never get to see his votes get read, and he doesn't get to change the game because Bobby John just goes instead anyway.
And it's so subtle, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but he's looking for the idol. We get all these scenes of people looking for the idol, but we never see him find it. And especially for the first ever immunity idol, I love that they don't show that he finds it because every tribal you're like, I don't know. But yeah, he picks it up and you don't even get a good look at it. Like, you don't really know what it looks like because he just gives it to Jeff in the dark and then they go on about it. But yeah, they're like, oh, okay, Gary's not going home, so let's just get rid of the other guy we were talking about talking about taking out. So it was different because it wasn't like it was Gary versus everybody. They did have other options. They could have voted out Danni, they could have voted out Bobby John, which they ended up doing. But yeah, it was really like, oh, cool, he found the idol. And everyone was like, ooh, wow, pretty idol. And then that was it.
And like kind of what hurts it, and I always think this with Guatemala, but you can't really fault them because the first time they ever did it, but it does hurt it that it was played before the votes were cast. Because by playing it before the votes are cast, it can't change the game. It saves Gary for one more week. We won't spoil too much moving forward in case people haven't, for people who aren't too familiar with anything other than Danni winning, which we will talk about to death. But for anybody who's not too familiar with what ends up happening with Gary and everybody else, this really can't change the game because Danni and Gary and Bobby John can't get an upper hand here, can't vote somebody out who wouldn't have been Jamie because Jamie had immunity. This actually would have been the perfect time because they would have gotten rid of Steph, which would have made it 5-3 going into the final 8. Jamie is somebody everybody already dislikes, and it's probably a lot easier to pull in a Cindy and a Rafe now that Steph would be gone because Judd wouldn't have as much pull. Rafe wouldn't feel so attached to Steph. He's already talking about trying to flip up the game. And Jamie, nobody wants to play with. So Jamie would probably go next, and who knows how the rest of the season shapes up.
Yeah, and that shows how much Survivor has evolved because having an idol is now, it's such a, not a group decision, but so many people are involved and it affects so many different courses of the game. But Gary was just like, I'm going home if I don't play this thing. I got to use it, and I'm going to save myself. And it's so pure. It's like how the first idol should be played. Because how else do you play it? Of course you're going to save yourself with your idol. And then on top of that, this was a super idol. We've come from, we've had, Tony's had a super idol, Yule's had a super idol. Like, these have come around before, but this is so powerful, and they almost don't even know how powerful it is because they can play it before the votes. And that's what makes it even crazier. The fact that he's just like, yeah, I'm going to use this for myself. Whether or not they're voting for me, I'm just going to do it. It's so pure. That's the word that comes to mind.
I kind of think that it's not so powerful, though. I feel like this is probably the least powerful rendition of it just because you can't change the game. Yeah, it's like a super idol where it's like you can play it, nobody can vote for you and everything like that. You don't have to really think about it as much as somebody after the votes have been cast and all of that. But I feel like this is the least powerful rendition just because it takes a lot for this to actually affect the game. Gary would have had to have been on his own. This isn't like Terry, where Terry can just play it after he's gotten all the votes. That's the super idol. Is after you've gotten all the votes, you play your idol and you're safe. It's like a get out of jail free card. This one's not because Gary could have played this without needing to.
But I think that has everything to do with the player. I mean, his idol is just as powerful as Yule's or Tony's or Terry's, but he just didn't know to play it that way. And I guess that's more of a conversation about Gary's gameplay than perhaps Tony's or like Richard Hatch's. It's just more of a self-defense move rather than how can I shake everything up. And I don't fault him because obviously he stayed for we know how much longer, but it's almost like they just didn't know what to do with it. He didn't know what to do with it. But you know what? It worked. The purpose, it served its purpose. It just could have been served a lot more, but I don't fault him for not knowing what to do.
Yeah, and he was trying to get in people's heads about voting out Steph. I know Bobby John went over and was talking to Judd and Jamie about voting out Steph, so that's kind of what they were trying to do with it, and they really thought that they might be able to pull it, but there's no way Jamie and Judd were ever going to do it. You had to go to Rafe and Cindy because those were the two who would actually do it. You know, Lydia, Judd, and Jamie, those were the ones who were the tightest with Steph. They get along with Steph the best. You can't go to them to try to make it happen, but I think that just showed really how inept Bobby John kind of is at this game, where Bobby John's going up to his biggest enemy and saying, hey, man, help me out, help me out, help me out. And then Jamie's like, yeah, you're not going home tonight, but it's just because they're voting for Gary. It's not because he's actually going to listen to them and vote out Steph.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I think it's episode beforehand, he goes up to Steph, who he previously in a confessional just said how much he hated her. And I knew that they didn't really get along, but I didn't know that there was that much clash. Maybe Bobby John just hates everything. I'm not sure. But he talks to Steph and he's like, man, I know I'm in the minority. I just want to get on the jury. And she's like, oh, I'll put you on the jury. Like, fine. Yeah. Like, I'll put you there.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
What are you doing there?
Exactly. And this is probably my least favorite storyline of this season is the everybody get Bobby John to the jury phase, because that's exactly what this phase is with the Amy and then the Brandon boot. These are really fun episodes to watch, but they're two of my least favorite results because comparing Yaxha to Nakum is dreadful. Nakum is full of very unlikable characters. Rafe is the only likable character on that tribe. Lydia's likable, but Lydia's never going to win this game. Rafe's really the only rooting interest on on that tribe. And to have them gain the upper hand and have Amy go home before Bobby John, which shouldn't have happened because here's Amy who can't even walk. You got to know a merge is coming up. And she can't even walk. And you send Bobby John, you keep Bobby John around, who's one of the stronger competitors. And then at Final 10, it's just, oh, we got to get rid of Brandon because we want Bobby John to hit the jury. And it's like, why is that fair? Why is it fair to send home the guy who's only gotten a chance to play once and keep around the guy who just wants to hit the jury? Like, to me, it's so lame and it's so uneventful. Thankfully, episode 9 completely revamps that at least.
And on a season with so many mean, unlikable people, there's a lot of talk of who deserves to be here. Jamie's gonna give up his portion of the reward because he screwed up. I messed that up. There's a lot of talk of who deserves to make it to the end, who deserves to do this, which doesn't really make sense in the season, which is en route to more modern Survivor, but it's still very cutthroat. None of them like each other. And what I do like about Rafe when we're talking about this Nakum group, he's the only decently nice person in that group apart from Lydia. And what I like about him is that he does struggle with this conflict. He's I don't want to be with the bullies. Just because I'm in the majority doesn't mean that we can be bullying them. That's not fair. That's not right. And that's a really interesting dynamic that you don't see much in Survivor anymore, because if you are in the majority, just wipe them all out. They need to go. Let's just stick our 6 strong until we get to the 6. But I don't know. There's all this talk of deserving, but then they turn around and get rid of Brandon because Bobby John deserves this. Bobby John got a second chance. Would he have ever gotten a second chance in any other world if he wasn't on Oolong? Definitely not.
No, he wouldn't have. He definitely would not have. And the only reason he got that second chance because he's one of the last 2. And I really don't understand why him and Steph don't like each other so much, considering Steph is the reason Bobby John got to play again. So you're welcome, Bobby John. That's literally the reason you got to play again. But yeah, I hate this whole deserving thing. Rafe actually calls the Alliance the axis of evil, and he doesn't want to be a part of it. And I just look at it as Rafe's probably thinking oh, I'll just take the evil guys to the end and I'm going to win easily. And every time I watch Survivor Guatemala, every time I watch it, I say Rafe is great. I'm going to root for Danni, and everybody else is kind of overrated. But every time I actually sit down and watch it, I find myself rooting for Gary. I find Rafe to be kind of overrated, and I can never bring myself to actually root for Danni because by the time her story starts picking up, and I like Danni, I really do, but I can never put her, every time like I watch a season, I'm like, okay, let's imagine you're rooting for the winner the entire game. What's their storyline, all of that. This season, every time I watch it, Danni falls to the back all the time because of every other character just overtaking so much. I always end up rooting for Gary every single time.
Yeah, and the thing with Danni is like there's a lot of factors there because there are so many other loud characters, for lack of a better term, and she's also we get so little of her. So it's a bit of there's so many other people, not that they're more interesting than her, but we're just getting more of them, and it's because like she purposely or not purposely not giving us much, but like you want her to win because I think she's a good winner, but you have to really like dive into why she won, because when you're just watching it, like, okay, Danni had her birthday, which was super cool, and she invited everyone over for like a pool party, but how does she win through that? Because we don't find out she wins until the final four.
How she wins through this whole birthday party fiasco is that she's actually a person and actually makes real connections here. And that's why they all end up voting for her over Steph. I mean, this episode with the pool party, I think this is so interesting. You know that they had to run this by the producers first.
Oh, yeah.
And Bobby John said, great. The old Mayan people, when they were at war, they used to actually sit down. The chiefs of each tribe would sit down and argue with each other or talk to each other, and then there'd be a war going on as soon as it was over. And that's the reason that this was allowed by production, is because Bobby John said that, or somebody told Bobby John to say that.
Yeah.
And that's why this was allowed, because it fit with the theme. And so they let them go over, they let them bring them back. And this is really the first time that Jamie absolutely loses it. Because before this, if you actually watch this season, Bobby John is normally in the wrong against Jamie. Mm-hmm. This is where Jamie actually starts to lose his mind. And as Rafe says later, he might actually lose it out here. And I actually think Jamie did kind of go a little crazy from being that isolated and that hungry and just that out of his element. I think he did go a little crazy, and I think it did mess him up. But this is where he first loses it, is when they have this pool party and he can't keep it together. Yeah,
and I mean, he's just sitting there in the corner stewing, and then he's like, everyone, we gotta go home. Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, no, we're having fun. And first, going back to the Bobby John Mayan comment, you bring up a good point. Someone had to have told him that, because, and this isn't a knock on Bobby John's intelligence at all, but like, how did he know that
exactly.
Like the Mayan leaders used to like smoke together and then kill each other the next day? Like, I don't know that. He's probably smarter than me, but who knows? Like, so that was definitely, I loved it, because again, we're getting a lot of really cool character moments in the season, and that's what I'm really liking about it. We're getting a really good balance of strategy talk and character moments, which I'm loving. But yeah, Jamie does that, and I'm just like, why are you so, like, he's so down, he's so negative, and in this entire 3-episode span, I'm just like, I can't stand him. He's so negative. He's all these mean. He's taunting them, all this stuff, and then humans are complex. And he turns around and he gives up his portion of the reward. And like Rafe said, whether or not that was strategic, I thought that was pretty cool of him. So it just shows the effect this game has on some people. And yeah, like Jamie and Bobby John are going at it the entire time. But then, you catch him shaking hands at the end. Bobby John's strategizing with him because he's desperate. But, they make amends.
Yeah, they make amends, and I'm sure, like, in real life, they're probably fine. I forget how the reunion show goes. I haven't rewatched this reunion, so this will literally be, when we watch this reunion, this will literally be the first time I've watched it since it aired. So I really don't remember how this went. But yeah, they have a really, I mean, Bobby John and Jamie's relationship is very interesting, because they cannot stand each other, and then Jamie steps down in the, we have to talk more about this reward, but he steps down, Bobby John shakes his hand, talks to him a little bit. They go over and they start talking. There had to have been more to this than just pure hatred, which I think that this was kind of like one of those old school Survivor feuds where it wasn't really malicious. It's just kind of like, I can't stand this person. I got to get out of here. Like the Judd Margaret one, I think, is more malicious than the Jamie Bobby John one. I think the Jamie Bobby John one is more of, we're just two really competitive guys from similar background, and we can't help it. We both just come out this way. Margaret and Judd was very personal.
Yeah, the Jamie Bobby John thing was just very like animalistic. Like it was just like alpha dog. They need to fight over their territory.
Yeah, exactly. And really, what better way than to have the two of them never be on a tribe together until they actually hit the merge, so that they can build up this hatred for each other. I mean, I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so then we have what was the immunity in that first one? I don't even remember what that immunity was.
Let me check my notes real quick.
Hmm. Steph does call Jamie the shadiest person she's ever met, which I thought was hilarious.
Added to the Stephisms. Not as good as the first two, but
yeah.
Oh man, I have
what was
everything in my notes is not about it. It's just about Amy going home.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Amy goes home, and they all hug her goodbye. And man, that was so sad. I loved her.
Well, and you know what I think is very interesting is I think this season is so similar to Exile Island, which is going to be interesting when we rewatch Exile Island, is that you have this more likable. Granted, I know the Kasaya Six is like considered one of the greatest tribes ever. I get that. But in terms of likability, you do not root for anybody.
Oh, no, they're not likable. They're just insane.
You don't root for anybody there. Just like you don't root for anybody on this Nakum Six, except for maybe Rafe. And if you loved Stephanie coming in, you'd root for her. But now I think everybody's kind of over that. It's insane how similar this is, though, where the tribe with the more likable people who get along much better have to vote out somebody that they really, really like and wish could stay in the game just because it makes sense. And then they have to turn around, hit the merge, and it's them versus the other side, and they have no chance. The first two boots post-merge are their two strongest guys, which is pretty much exactly what goes down in Panama. And then, you have Terry running all the way through Panama and falling just short. At least in this season, you have the person win. But Danni, I mean, you don't root for Danni as hard as you end up rooting for Terry in the next season to overtake this craziness, even though you do end up rooting for Danni at some point. At least this tribe had Rafe to root for a bit.
Yeah, and knowing what happens with Rafe, not to trying to avoid spoilers here, but you have something consistent to root for, because like you said, you don't root for Danni until later on, because Danni's just a background character up until she wins. Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. But I just think it's crazy how the parallels here, and when we watch Exile Island next, it's going to be really interesting, I think. So Amy goes out here. You have Amy and Gary having that great moment where it's like, we're going to have to go against each other. And she starts yelling about being Gary Hogaboom again, which I think is so funny. And then, and it actually seemed like this was a good time to get rid of Bobby John. And it seemed like they were in Danny's ear and they were in Brandon's ear a bit. And really, I think that Brandon, had he gotten rid of Bobby John, might have had a chance to stay a little bit more. Just because they might have been able to convince everybody, let's get rid of Jamie first because nobody likes him. We don't want him on the jury. Let's get him out of here. He doesn't deserve it. And then you guys can pick us off. And I actually think Brandon might have hurt himself a little bit more by actually getting rid of Bobby John, who got the sympathy card from the other tribe.
Yeah, they would have gotten rid of they probably would have gotten rid of Gary before Jamie, but it would have been one or the other before Brandon, because they all really, really liked Brandon.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Brandon's like a really likable guy. I always like Brandon. He's like one of the more forgotten Survivor players just because he doesn't hit the merge in a pretty forgotten season. But I always liked Brandon. Or he hits the merge. He doesn't hit the jury. Yeah. I always wish that he had like another chance, but it would never happen. I think now he might be like an actor or a model or something. I know he was named like one of the top eligible bachelors back like right after this aired. Like it was insane. Like look at the guy now. He has like no hair. It's bizarre.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look him up after this.
Yeah, you have to look him up. He's much different looking now. But I just always find this interesting with Amy and Brandon going back to back. Really, this stretch of Margaret, Brian, Amy, Brandon is like, wow, those are your four people that don't hit the jury. Yeah. And you have people like, no offense, Lydia, you have Cindy, you have Bobby John, you have Jamie. It's like, okay. Like, yeah. Okay. There's who I would replace it with.
Yeah, those four people you just said who don't make the jury, those were like, how much did we talk about them at the beginning? Like, they were big time characters, and they were like, not just because they were dominating, but they were just really interesting characters, and they were all so different. And to lose them that early, it's like I hate to make this comparison, but like it gives you the Game Changers vibe of just like, here's a lot of interesting people, and now they're all gone, and now this is what you're getting at the second half of the game.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because like I still think that these 3 episodes that we just watched are incredibly entertaining. I think episode 9, that Bobby John boot, might be one of my favorite episodes the show's ever had. Like rewatching that, I was laughing so hard the entire time. You have Jamie giving up the whatever. You have him going on to win the immunity challenge. Rafe having that epic spill into the water, which is just freaking hilarious.
That thing was awesome. And they're all so laughing
funny.
at him too.
And it all culminates with the first immunity idol play And the boot of Bobby John, who is somebody I wasn't that excited to see play again. And like, it's not that I dislike Bobby John. It's just that in a season like this, I always root for the newbies because I don't want to see a Rob dominate. I don't want to see a Coach Ozzy final 3, which thankfully we didn't get. But, you know, like, I don't want to see that stuff in these types of seasons. I'd rather see them crash and burn like Russell Swan. To me, that's more entertaining, and I'd rather see the new people get to play.
And the thing with Bobby John is, like, I don't know. Now, I'm rewatching this season, and I've seen Palau. I've seen Guatemala like 3 times now. And I just can't get deeper into him. He just seems very one-dimensional. At least Stephanie, there's a little bit going on, and it's just like more like of a loud personality. Like, she's just more entertaining. Like, if that's the word I'm going to go with. Like, I can't get into that feud. Like, yeah, it was funny, but like, I don't know. It's not particularly compelling to me. So, like, Bobby John, I had to like remind myself that he was a returning player because he was just kind of there.
Well, and that's the thing with Bobby John. He's not the most interesting. And he's, you know, if you look at that Oolong tribe even, James, Angie, freaking the guy, the big buff guy who ends up like pretty much quitting, the girl who's like, I think it's Stephanie is the other girl. It might be like another Stephanie. I don't remember what her name is. Kim? Was it Kim? It might have been Kim. I don't know. But that Oolong tribe has way more entertaining players than Bobby John. But if you're going to do this theme, it needs to be Bobby John because they were the last 2 standing. And Bobby John's a perfectly nice guy. It's fine for somebody like him to play once, but there's no reason for him to play twice.
Yeah, he's not like a bad person. I just think Stephanie's more interesting to watch on my TV than Bobby John is.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. You know,
yeah.
Okay. So then I think like then Brandon ends up going at this merge, and this idol thing is talked about. And what I love about this idol is like it gets brought up and nobody really knows how to react. It's like, I'm going to go out and look for it. And everybody's kind of like rooting for each other to find it, I feel like. Even if they're not in your alliance, you're kind of like, I hope somebody finds this damn thing. Like, I want to see what happens with this.
Yeah, and I wrote down what the note said about telling them what the idol was. Said, if you're feeling bored around camp or if you need some peace of mind, like the idol is hidden here, XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, another like season 11 versus season 34, like, hey, you know what? If you got nothing else to do and you're just like done sunbathing and hiding from crocodiles, there's this like super powerful thing hiding in the woods that could definitely get you to the final 4. And they're like, ooh, yeah, like that sounds cool. That sounds fun. Like, wonder who's going to find it. Like, it's so like innocent. It's so cute.
It's really funny. And like, this is also coming off the first time there's no merge feast, which destroys them. They're so mad.
They're like, where's my food?
They're so mad they get nothing. You have those 4 who are coming in with really nothing, and they're just coming into this tribe. You have Jamie saying, "I hope you all don't mind. There's no room in the shelter." Like, Jamie's
in the middle of the night.
He's completely lost his mind at this point. I mean, it's really funny. You have Rafe. He gets stung by hornets? Like, he puts his hand in the hornet's head. He's like, "I'm done looking now." Like, it's just funny how quickly people would give up back then. Whereas like nowadays, somebody puts their hands in a hornet's nest and they're like, damn, that hurt. Medical, come look at my hand. I got to go back out and find this or I'm going home.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then also, like, I think it was in the last episode, like Gary's like poking around for the idol and someone's like, where's Gary? They're like, oh, he's looking for the idol. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine.
That'd be crazy if he found it.
Like, wouldn't that be interesting? Like, yeah. And then when he gets it, they're all like, oh yeah, like super into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like
it's
really, really funny.
And it's probably because they have the option of Bobby John going home, but still like, or Danni too. It's like, oh man, like what a curious thing, isn't that?
And look how much that's changed this game. Another great moment I thought, and like this is just something that popped in my head, is when Rafe is looking and he says he's the worst at looking for things, and then it pops up with his job as wilderness guide. I thought that was so funny because here's a guy looking in the woods who's a wilderness guide, but he says he can't find anything in the woods.
Like, all this guy does is like creep around the woods all day.
Yeah, but he can't find anything. Don't worry about him, guys. I thought that was so funny.
I love when they do stuff like that. That was so funny. That was a good one.
Yeah, and this merge once again it's like they come walking in. They're like, it's just going to be the 4 of us versus all of them. They're grabbing the wood. They're doing this. They're doing that. Everybody's kind of just like heckling them. I mean, this Nakum is so pitiful. And what makes it worse than I think Kasaya is that there's no Terry. Like, you could say what you want about Terry. I know people will call him sexist, call him whatever the hell they want because whatever happened, who the hell cares? Terry was such a good hero on that season that you just don't have this season. Gary's like a B-level Terry. As much as I root for Gary, he's a B-level Terry. That's just how it is. Everybody else on the other tribe isn't as interesting as the Kasaya tribe. Yeah, you have Judd and Shane. I guess you could kind of go like mano-y-mano, even though Shane's probably a better version for sure. But they go mano-y-mano. You have Steph, who's slowly losing her mind. But, like, you don't have a Sari. You don't have a Terry. You don't even really have an Aris. Because, like, It's like, is Rafe really your Aris? Like, Rafe is such a different character than Aris.
Like, I guess the only comparison you make between the two is it's just, like, with Kasaya, there's just, like, this swirling vortex of insanity. And then, like, Aris is, like, the normal guy. And you could, like, make the same thing for Rafe. But that's the only thing they have in common.
And, like, not for nothing, Cindy isn't crazy at all, and neither really is Lydia. So, like, they don't really match up to, like, there's no Courtney. And like, really, like, I guess Bruce could be, like, your Cindy, where they're both just kind of
Bruce is a little nuts, too.
But they're both there kind of for, like, the adventure more than anything. I mean, yeah. Cindy is the most invisible character on the season, I feel like. You don't really ever get to know Cindy at all.
No, you don't.
Which is pretty
Kasaya is just, like, this Nakum tribe, like, on drugs. Like,
yeah,
well, literally. It's literally on drugs. Yeah. But yeah, to the nth degree. Like, so I get the comparisons, but man, I like the Kasaya version so much. The Kasaya versus Terry version so much more.
Yeah, I agree. But then episode 9 to me, what was the episode? What was the individual immunity? Oh, the individual immunity here where they actually give them the option to eat. I love that Judd doesn't eat. I thought this was fantastic. Judd and Cindy go out there and they actually do the challenge. You knew Cindy was going to do it because she's there for the adventure. Like, that's what she wants to do. Like, she keeps saying, like, I can eat whenever. This is what I'm here to do. But for Judd to not eat and to stand up there, and the way that Jamie keeps mouthing off, for Judd to be the voice of reason and be like, dude, you got to shut up.
Yeah.
Like, you have to shut up. This was phenomenal. This challenge was great. It couldn't have worked out any better for them.
And that's what's crazy. Like Judd here and there, he says things, and you're like, yeah, Judd, like, you're totally right. Like, Jamie is being a pain in the butt. Like, of course, like, I never in a million years would have expected Judd to be the one to be like, hey, guys, like, he's being Aris. Like, guys, someone needs to be here, else one of them is going to win immunity. Like, we got to put one of us out there. And luckily for them, they had 2 people out there. And, yeah, it blows my mind that Judd decided to do that instead of eating. Good on him.
Yeah. And it always, like, shocks me, like, Judd goes and does the challenge. Stephanie doesn't. Like, here's a girl who finally has her second chance, and she's going to give up immunity at final 10 to eat and possibly miss the jury. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you got to be out of your damn mind. There's no way.
So cocky. It's hilarious.
It's so cocky. And I'm so happy she loses. I don't even care. It's great.
Great fashion, too.
Yeah, it's great watching this in retrospect because you can vocally say why you're happy someone loses or why you're happy someone wins. Like, when you're watching it, like, live, you're kind of like, oh, well, if they win, like, I don't know if they're going to win. I got to have to see how their storyline goes. Knowing how all the storylines go in Guatemala, like, you're happy that certain people lose.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun to watch some of these people lose. You have Rafe sitting over there being like, Jamie, like, I feel bad. I don't like this. Like, he feels disgusting at this point because Jamie can't keep his mouth shut. And he's mouthing off to Bobby John the entire time, pointing out the alliances. I don't know how you keep somebody like that who's that loud and that vocal and clearly, like, that crazy.
Yeah. And they were like, I mean, I don't know how seriously they were talking, but they were like ready to get rid of him because he just sucked at the end. Like, people were just like not liking him. And then he clearly got his wits about him because he turned around and ended up fixing it up, but he just like self-combusted so quickly.
Yeah, he really did. He really, really did. Gary goes on to win the race up the temple, which I thought was great because I always think it's dumb, like, to have like, oh, you've been up there for an hour and now we're all going to run and like do our thing. But like, what, I guess it's cool. Like, if you're going to have them run up a temple. Yeah.
But see, I like that because as we've complained about in a current season, we watch that for about 5 minutes and then they do 7 hours later and they're still standing there with the pots on their heads. But now it's like, okay, if you make it an hour, good for you. Now we're going to finish this up and you got to run up this temple. Like, I liked that because they could have stayed up for God knows how long.
Well, I love endurance challenges. I'm totally fine if they stand up there for as long as they want. I love endurance challenges. What I love the most, though, is when they get tempted, when they have the choice. Yeah. And that's why, like, I like this because you know right away that you're not going to be tempted while you're standing there. You're either stepping down for the food now or you're not doing it at all. And I really like that. I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like now when it's just like, oh, hang on to a pole. Okay, cool. You can all do this for 3 hours. Okay, great. Okay, now no, we're not tempting at all. Like, tempt them. Get them down. This is what makes it fun. This is what makes it really fun. And not for nothing, I think this reward challenge, as dumb as it is that they only got one toss, this is so much fun that you have them literally in order of their finish. That's how much they eat. This is such a fun idea that we just don't see anymore. It's like they've evolved the game so much that it's actually almost like devolved a bit. Where like you're not getting these incredibly interesting moments anymore, or like these like really fun things. Like it's always like, oh, here's a group of 5. They're all going to go on reward and win. Or here's a group of 4 that's going to go on reward and win. How much of a character moment is this from Jamie to give this up, and how unforced is it? You know, like I love this.
No, I want individual wins, and they got to pick and choose. I want them tormented over who they choose, and I want them punished for choosing the wrong person. I love that stuff. I want them holding on to a bucket and Jeff walks by with nachos. Like, that's the stuff you want.
I totally agree. Agree. It's so much more fun. I'm all about that. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see it again, but that's what I like. I mean, if this whole Ghost Island theme for season 36 is real, then maybe that means that we're going to see some things that have happened in the past, because I would love to see some things.
Yeah, that'd be pretty darn cool.
Yeah. So I think this challenge is dumb that they only get one throw, because it's kind of like, you don't even get like a learning curve. It's just like, oh, walk up, throw it. Oh, wow, that sucked. All right, moving on.
Yeah, you wonder if they get to practice beforehand, but I bet they don't.
I bet they don't. And, I mean, Judd has the first throw, and he ends up winning anyway. And then I love that Jamie would have ended up in 4th, which means he would have gotten what? Was it the cheeseburger?
He would have gotten the cheeseburger, and instead he got a bowl of nuts.
Instead he got a bowl of nuts, because he goes all the way down to last. Not that 8th was any better, not that 7th was really any better, but, like, it's so great how this works out. And then Judd gets to pick. And one of my favorite images is Judd sitting there smoking the cigar, yelling at everybody, I'll have one of these. Yeah, let's get 2 of those, but don't put any cranberry. Just put mainly vodka.
I know. I was like, Steph, you're ordering a freaking vodka cranberry right now?
Oh, my God. Like, not for nothing, if you're out there, you have to be drinking beer. You cannot be drinking, like, vodka, because that's just absolutely, like, just, like, draining you. At least beer has like some substance to it.
Some water in it.
Yeah, like a vodka cranberry is like literally just asking for pain.
It's like, Steph, you're getting white girl wasted if you're drinking vodka cranberries.
Well, I mean, Judd got white girl wasted, as we saw, and then he moves on and throws up in the tent. But I just thought it was so.
And they zoomed the camera towards.
Oh yeah, we didn't need to see that at all. There's been so much vomit on this season.
Oh, it's gross. And also, where did Judd get that cigar from?
They must have given it to him, because then Bobby John is smoking a cigar at camp land.
Yeah, I'm like, who gave them these cigars? Who authorized this?
Yeah, they're just smoking cigars. I think it's great. I mean, Judd gets to pick somebody to sit with him. I love his reasoning for like Bobby John being the first one picked. He opened his arms to me right away. And it's like, I guess, but like, did he really? Like, Judd, did he really? Like you and Bobby John clearly aren't ever going to work together. Did he? Like, that's who you're going to pick first. Then he picks Steph. It's almost like he just wanted to sit there with the Survivor players.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Or he was just like, yeah, Bobby, like, going back to the, like, deserves. I was like, he's trying hard. I was like, have you two spoken yet? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. And then he gave them his food. Steph was like, oh, I cut this in half. I gave some to Bobby John. Like, I was like, I want to be sharing with you guys. Like, that lobster and steak's for me.
Yeah, exactly. And then there you go. I mean, they split the entire lobster tail. I mean, I don't know. Judd got so much food. Judd's such a pain. I love it. I think it's so funny. You have Gary sitting over there just staring at them, looking like Skeletor, just staring straight at them. And they're like, Gary, you're killing me. He's like, fine, I won't look at you anymore. But like, Gary's got that little dinky slice of pizza. He's definitely, I think Gary looks like he's lost the most weight since he's been out there.
Gary looks quite literally like a skeleton. I mean, he was already very lean. But you can see like the veins in his neck and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And what spurred this whole moment, you got to remember, is like Jamie being upset in the morning because everybody's coming down hard on him because Bobby John said he had no class. And like Jamie's feelings are hurt over this. He had a broken heart, he said. Y'all broke my heart. And it's like, Jamie, how personal are you going to take this? Like,
you broke your own heart. Like, what? Like, why is this such an issue? He's so odd. Like, he's just so dramatic. And I think it was during the pool party. He's like, I hate how we're all getting along. It makes me sick. I was like, it makes you sick. Like, It's a game. Like, let's be cool. Like, it's all good. It's all good.
And I think Bobby John plays this really well, where he's just like, look, maybe I didn't see it right. Maybe I didn't see it, but what I saw was no class. That might not mean you have no class. And then Jamie kept going. I love when Judd goes, Jamie, just don't bring it up again, bro. And Jamie goes, I won't. And then Bobby, it's 3 seconds later, he's like, I just don't like that you brought up that I had no class. It was like instant. And it's like, oh my God, this guy, somebody turn him off.
It's like we're in high school again. Like just turn him off. Yeah, where's the off switch?
There is none. And then so that was kind of like why he gave it up, because everybody kind of turned on him and he was like, I just want to, my actions and all that, blah, blah, blah. He really doesn't turn. I mean, he's still crazy, but he doesn't go like that crazy. And then the other thing is Judd versus the 30-foot stump after this challenge, or after he gets hammered, and Gary's like trying to hold him. And like he's like, no, Judd, you come over here. Like, you come over here. We'll get it tomorrow morning. And Judd just still falls and hits his head. This is like one of the funniest episodes. I love like this entire episode. This is phenomenal.
And any time there's a reward and they come home drunk, I love those scenes. Like, one of the few scenes from Thailand that I like or even can remember is when Ted and Helen go and get wasted and have Thai food. And Ted has like a confessional and the guy's like blacked out. He's so drunk. Like, that stuff is so funny to me because it's so normal and it's what anyone else would do in that situation. I love it. I could watch Judd wrestle that like 30-foot stump the whole time. It was so funny.
It was a tree. It was
like, that was not a stick. That was a tree that had fallen.
Yeah, exactly. So then after this, like, everybody's kind of talking about getting rid of Gary, which I thought was kind of weird. And this is where Steph loses the game. This is why Steph ends up losing, is because she starts lying to people for no reason. She tells Gary it's not him, tells him it's Bobby John. Why are you doing that knowing damn well it's going to get back to Gary that it's him? It's going to get back from somebody because they're all playing too nice of a game, and he's going to play that idol. And this is why Steph loses, because she just makes lies to people all throughout the game that are just completely unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. They're two like very different tribes, even though Jamie was like, just kidding, we are a family. I'm sorry I didn't realize it earlier. Mm-hmm. But they're like, there are still connections between the two tribes. It's not like they were always separate. Like, there is some intermingling going on. And it's a small group. Like, word's going to get around. You're not that tight-knit.
Yeah, it's not like Australia or Borneo where it's literally Kucha versus Ogakor, Pagong versus Tagi. Like, it's not like that. These are, these people have all actually played together. At least know each other somewhat, or have a relationship with somebody who played with that person, which makes it a little bit more difficult, which also is like what makes it even more confusing that Nakum wants to stay so Nakum. But then again, Kasaya had relationships with people too, and they just wanted to stay completely Kasaya. Like, it happens. I don't know. And she had no reason to lie to him because they didn't have a bad relationship. They didn't have much of a strong relationship, but there was no need for that, like, for her to say that. Yeah. And then we do this immunity too, where I love this style of immunity challenge. And this is something they used to do all the time back in the older seasons, and they don't do it really that much anymore, is where you actually get eliminated as you go on. These elimination type challenges. I think these are fun. I know why Jeff got rid of them is because if somebody's in danger and they go out in the first round, then there's really no drama to the challenge. But I love these types of challenges where it starts with 9, goes down to 4, goes down to 2. It makes it really fun. And in this one, it's Rafe versus Jamie at the end. You want Rafe to beat Jamie for the chance that Jamie could go home. But you're not sitting there saying, oh, why is it Bobby John or Gary there? Because at the end of the day, you're like, okay, either they're going to go home or they're going to find a way. But you're really just rooting against Jamie, which is where the drama's in. Yeah,
I love these challenges. And it was kind of like, I think it was in Cook Islands. It was Adam Gentry and Ozzy, I guess. And it was the only time Ozzy didn't win an immunity. And it was like super intense because he was like, is he going to win? Is he not? But I love these. I really wish they'd bring them back along with many other challenges.
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, Guatemala, maybe it's just because it's so different from what we've been watching, but Guatemala has some of the best challenges I can remember right now because I love these challenges every time. I'm like into them. I
know. I'm curious to see if we say the same thing in Panama.
I know, or if it's too similar. Maybe we won't. And then after this is over, so now we finally have Gary who gets wind that he's going home. Bobby John knows that he's going to end up being safe. And what we didn't talk about is that after the reward, Judd also got the clue to the hidden immunity idol. Yes. The next clue. And he shares it with Stephanie, and he finds out that it's in a tree. Why the hell does he walk down off that damn temple and say, guys, it's buried on the ground, I'll tell you that. Why does he even bother doing that?
See, I actually kind of like that because that's some foresight. I actually think that's a really good move on his part. I think the dumb move is they cut to him and he's just like,
well, he's not subtle, so you can't do that because he's not subtle.
but he thinks he's subtle.
Yeah, but this is why it's a bad move, is because he's not subtle. He's an absolute...
But in his mind, it's a good move. And if it wasn't Judd, it would be a really good move. People lie about idol clues all the time. It's like situational lying. Like, I think that's an amazing move. You just got to sell it well, and he didn't sell it well because he's not subtle.
Yeah. I mean, look. Judd is the worst person to do this. You can't take anything Judd says seriously. For him to walk down, nobody even asked him. So for him to say it's definitely on the ground and then go and look in the woods up in trees, you're putting a target on your back for that. It's way different like now if you're like, oh, it's by the water, and it actually is by the water, but you say like, it's up in that cave, I think. And then you go and you look next to the cave or something. But like to sit here and like actually say like it's on the ground when nobody asked you, like, I get, like, at this point, everybody was probably, like, hanging out together and everything. But one of the best scenes is when Gary's like, so I'm looking around and I'm following him and oh, he's looking up in the trees. Well, that's curious. If it's on the ground, why is he looking in the trees? I think that's so funny because it's like Judd is just he's just absolutely out of his mind.
And it's like the last confessional before you go into tribal council. So it's like, Gary's onto something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so funny. Gary onto something. I know we don't get to see him do it, but
yeah, that's like I'm reading live chat. Like people, I know that
look, you're smoking weed, bro.
I am not doing that. This is a family friendly show.
Just not when Troy's
even though except not when Troy's here, because anyone under 18 needs earmuffs when Troy's here.
Yeah.
100 feet of this podcast. Hi, Troy's. I hope you're listening. Yes, I understand that the move didn't work. It's like if JT's like idol to Russell worked. Mm-hmm. It's like it's a really good idea. Like people do that. That's a really good idea. It's just not good that Judd did it because Judd's not very good at being subtle. I think it's a great move. I would have done it too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess, but like at least you're a little bit more subtle and you're a little bit smarter. I mean, Judd just, you can't take anything Judd says seriously. I mean, this is a guy who just threw up in your damn shelter.
And then trying to make a fire out of a tree.
I know, trying to lift up a tree. I mean, he's just crazy.
Yeah, he also, one quote that, like, this is so unimportant, but it was right at the beginning of the first episode. He was like, man, Margaret's probably at home making chicken fingers or something. Mm-hmm. Like, why? Like, that's, like, what she's doing at home right now?
Yeah, exactly. No. And don't forget, we also had our first sighting of Guatemala. We finally had it.
We got what?
Guatemala, when Rafe's playing against Jamie.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool. I loved it.
And Jamie's sitting there like, don't ever screw me, don't screw me, don't screw me. And Rafe's like, I really don't care if I screw Jamie over.
Like, I don't care. I know nothing. I don't know him anything.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, that's the first sighting of it. I think it's the next episode where we get a lot more of it where, like, Rafe actually thinks that Jamie's going to kill him because, like, Jamie starts making, like, threats at him. But anyway, so Bobby John throws Steph under the bus here. And this is, as much as like we've kind of ripped on Bobby John says to Judd and Jamie, she's a liar. She'll do whatever she can to get to the end. She'll do whatever she's got to do to you. And he's 100% right, which is so crazy because it's exactly how the game goes the rest of the way for Steph. He starts lying to people like crazy. He was right. And really, had they gone with Bobby John here and actually voted out Steph, you might have had Judd sitting in that final too. It might have actually happened in the insanity of the world. It might have actually happened.
Wow. I would have loved to see him at Final Tribal Council just to watch him absolutely ruin it.
Who would he have been sitting next to, though? With Steph gone, You never know what happens. I'm telling you, Steph goes this episode. Really, I've been saying this all along. Bobby John should have went when if Rafe would have actually given the idol to Brian, and Bobby John goes then, if Bobby John goes with Amy, if Bobby John goes where Brandon goes, Bobby John goes earlier and Steph goes earlier. This season, I think, is seriously, I think the end game is so much better than it is. I like watching these people implode, but I think that it's more fun. I think this was a good new cast that you didn't necessarily need Bobby John and Steph. Like, Redemption Island was never really going to be that good of a cast. Like, you needed, like, not that season was bad anyway. Like, it's horrible.
That season was bad no matter how you slice it.
But, you needed this with these, like, with these two. I feel like this was such a good old school cast. You didn't necessarily need that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like it's really fun watching them implode because like you said earlier, it's fun knowing that Steph loses, which is why it's like funny that she's doing all these bad things to people. But I'd also prefer to have like Brandon, Brian, Amy, Margaret in the game than watching these people just kind of blow up their own game.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, what else do we have here? I mean, finally, Gary does come in. and he does play this idol, and and Jeff goes, "Okay, no more talking," and it's like, what just happened? Like, and they all just get up, they run up, they vote.
Yeah,
John goes home. Would have been, hey, who knows?
Yeah, we get the side vote for Cindy.
Yeah, Gary voted for Cindy. I wonder why. Maybe just to kind of stir something in her mind. Maybe make her think like somebody on your side voted for you.
Yeah, could have done that. Could have been didn't want to vote out. I don't know. Yeah, it was weird.
I think that might have been what it was. Or maybe he didn't want to vote for Steph because he wanted to be like, hey, Steph, look, I didn't vote for you last time. I thought everybody was going to vote for Cindy. I wanted to make sure you didn't go home. Who knows?
Yeah.
It sort of works for Gary. I don't know. The next 3 episodes are this season is much better than I remember, but I'm
really liking it.
Yeah, I just also know why I dislike it more than most. Like I still know. I'm looking. I have my rankings right here. I'm just gonna pull this up real quick.
Yeah, we'll get there, but at least for me, like the winner does have a decent effect on how I feel about the season, and a lot of it has to do with not really knowing much about Danni. But I'm waiting to find out why I didn't like it.
I mean, it's not even that I didn't like it. I'd probably move it up a few spots, but like I'd probably move it ahead of All Stars for sure. And I would probably move it ahead of the problem is everybody will probably yell at me for even what's down here. But like every season I have, like Guatemala was like the bottom season of the seasons I really like. Like that's the problem. Even though it comes in at 25, like this is a season I really like. It just comes in at 25. It's ahead of Worlds Apart, Fiji, Game Changer, Nicaragua, Thailand, Caramel, and South Pacific One World Redemption Island. But like it's behind seasons that I really, really like.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like I'll have to go back and watch our podcast and when we talk about Guatemala. But I feel like we're all like, it wasn't awful. Like it's not in that tier of just like overall bad seasons. But none of us could really get over the hump on it.
It's kind of like between like my 17 and 25. They're all kind of interchangeable. It just depends on what type of Survivor I want to watch. Like Guatemala could easily be probably on par with like Africa or Samoa for me. But the 3 seasons are so ridiculously different.
Yeah, Africa, Samoa, and Guatemala are super different.
Yeah. Gabon is better than Guatemala, Giovanni Oriana. Gabon is better than a lot of things. Gabon is top 10, and I will never change it from that.
Gabon is an absolute
the next 2 seasons
and that's what makes it so good.
Unless there are 2 seasons better than it coming up. But yeah, so we get through this. We get through, these 3 boots, 3 predictable I mean, they're really predictable if you think about it. Like these are the 3 people you would expect to go these 3 episodes if Yaxha loses that, and Amy goes, and then you would expect Brandon and Bobby John to go, and sure enough, that's what happens. Let's jump over to Twitter.
All right. I actually found the tweet after all that.
Did you? The James tweet?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to start with all right, well, I lost it. So you go. Read them both. Go.
All right, James, Survivor fan. The merch feast twist was so mean of Survivor. And then Survivor's changed. The first idol gets played and Jeff says no talking. Yeah, those are 2 massive changes that we've had. Like the merge feast this time, like Debbie's humping Saray. We're having like a good time, and now they're like they like have to creep in there in the middle of the night and hope that they have a place to fall asleep.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, and I love the
it's awesome. Torture them.
I liked it better when Jeff said no talking. I liked when the Gary finding that it was cool, but it also still like you still had to play the game. Now, like, there's just so many things that are just being thrown around. There's too many advantages, and I'm hoping that it takes a step back at least. It doesn't have to go all the way back to the days of Guatemala or previous, but it should go back to, like, the days of, like, Micronesia, China, Gabon. Like, this was the good stretch of Survivor. And it was, like, once Redemption Island hit, it was, like, how many ways can we change the game? Because Nicaragua was a disaster. And then it was like, oh, well, let's just, like, blow everything up and see what happens.
Yeah, let's just give everyone a ton of advantages, and then Suri goes home without a single vote.
Yeah. We have Annie. Thanks for encouraging me to watch and maybe rewatch Survivor 11. I wish they still had things like Mancala to play. All he did was dig holes in the ground and pick up nuts.
I mean, honestly, maybe they'd still play Mancala. They just don't show us.
Yeah, like I love that. It's such a good like that ends up being like a storyline for these 2 episodes. Is Rafe playing Guatemala with Jamie? I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Ice X, did you catch Judd talking about My Jungle a few episodes ago, pre-Troyzan? I completely missed that.
I mean, I do remember him saying he was like the king of the jungle or something, but hey, he didn't scream it at a challenge. Maybe that's why Judd is really who Troyzan was supposed to be on for. Also, move your phone.
Oh, did you? Oh, my phone's right next to the mic. I was like, how did you hear that?
It's quite obnoxious. It's like the 8th time.
Well, I'm super popular, so I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Jeez, it just keeps going, and like it's got to be like on the mic, right? Like it's had to be like on it.
It was just sitting right on top of the mic, just to bug you.
Ice X says, my source for Guatemala has on-screen graphics for the Amazing Race Family Edition. Worst season ever. I never watched that. What are you watching it on? They have the CBS All Access, which is pretty good. I mean, it's like $6 a month. It's not too bad.
I mean, I'm watching it on CBS All Access, and it's like maybe my internet is actually confirming that my internet is horrible, but it's still just like the pre-HD era. It's like, oh my God, you can't see anything.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Jeez.
It's crazy.
Go ahead. I just had a memory with this reward challenge because now I'm looking at some of these comments. For the reward challenge for that first episode, Yaxha actually wins and they get to go and do the zip lining in the jungle, which was great.
Oh, yeah, that was so cool. And then they had chocolate.
And then they had chocolate. And they had so much chocolate that, like, who was it? Couldn't even look at the mud. Was it Bobby John or was it Brandon? Couldn't look at mud.
And also, it was just like all the challenges, they were about, like everything was about Mayan culture. Like, the location mattered.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're like, what was it? They wrapped themselves up and then had to unwrap themselves. I thought that was so funny. Like, Steph and Lydia literally falling on each other was so funny.
Steph was just, like, shoving her.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Ice X again. How great was that last reward challenges? Ranked meals. Why don't they do fun stuff like that anymore? I love the ranked meals challenge. Though this one's a little different. I prefer the one where the winner chooses where everyone else goes. That's awesome. I love tribal politics. Make everyone mad. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, and it's the survivors who are making that happen. Production's putting them in that position, but the survivors are making the choice. Those are the types of twists and turns that I like to watch. You skip Tyler Bellimer, who says, wait, did we say this? Just finished Micronesia. It was so long ago that Amanda found an idol and we didn't see it. Mind blown, good old days. I mean, that's just because it fits with Gary finding it without it being shown, and then Amanda did it. Season 16 was the last time that somebody found an idol and we didn't see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Gamer Girl says, why did Gary look so bored ziplining in episode 7? I mean, I think he was just taking it in. Nobody can be as intense as Amy. I
think Gary looks bored doing everything also.
Gary's very stoic.
And I say that because I like Gary, but yeah, that's true. Amy's like, yeah, Amy and Gary are so different. God,
Amy was crapping her pants. I would be the same. I don't like heights. I've done like a rope course before up in like Lake George, and it was so high up, and I finished the damn thing, but I just remember being like, what am I doing up here? What am I doing up here? And I love Amy being like, that was a reward. I'll never do that again. Like, I thought that was great. Like,
I was like, that's the most fun I never want to have again.
Exactly. And then she has to eat the damn chocolate while standing on the perch that's still super high up. You know, she just couldn't wait to get the hell down.
Yeah. What's next?
Giovanni
Oriana. If you were Amy's stepchild, I would call the cops and have her arrested.
Yeah, because she says, I'm going to beat you like a stepchild to Gary if she finds out that he's actually a person. if he's not who he says he is. Yeah. Gamer Girl says, why did Gary vote Cindy in episode 9? And that's kind of like what I was talking about. I think it was trying to throw off the scent to kind of be like, Cindy, somebody voted for you. And I think that Gary knew Cindy and Rafe are the two most likely to flip. And I think that's why he did it to Cindy, to try to get Cindy to come to his side. And I think he thinks that he could pull Rafe if he pulled Cindy.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, that could work. You sold me. Gamer Girl, again, do you think Jamie is Guatemala's Rodney? They're both crazy, but it's a fun type of crazy. I don't know. If only it was Jamie's birthday during, and if he had someone forced him against his will to do dishes.
I like the differences between Rodney's birthday and Danny's birthday. That's great.
Yeah, that's so true. I would like to see like all birthdays that I've had on Survivor and like what they do.
Yeah. No, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, someone do that for us.
I also don't think, though, as Will has proven to us numerous times or has tried to prove to us, Rodney was a player on his season. Jamie lost his mind. Like, Rodney was loud and everything, but everybody still liked Rodney.
Yeah,
Rodney
he kind of worked
and stuff. But, like, if you actually think about Rodney on that island, he's probably, like, the third most likable person out of, like, that final 6. Like,
which is insane.
Yeah, like, he's definitely up there in terms of likability. So I think I don't know. I think Rodney's fine. We have Ice X. Is the hidden idol the number one twist added to the original Survivor format? I think it's the best twist. I
wonder. Yeah, it depends what you might mean by number one. Like tribe swaps, like that's a huge one.
Yeah, tribe swaps are great. I think the idol, when it's used minimalist, like when it's used the way James had the power to use it and Amanda had the power to use it, and the 15 through 19, really up until Russell, the way that idols were used through there was great. Russell was such good TV that then idols became too much. So I do think idols are the best addition. I think they're even a better addition. Tribe swaps obviously changed the game completely, but I think idols and tribe swaps are like neck and neck for what's actually the most fun to watch, because now tribe swaps have kind of become meaningless because like people are never staying as loyal to their original tribes as they used to. But I think that these idols, when they're used in moderation, not like this last season, when there's only one out there or two out there, not when there's 3 or 4 out there. When there's just 1 or 2, I think it's great, and I really like watching it. In these older seasons, you got to remember, there was one idol in play. That was it. Jamie had it. Gary had it. Terry had it. Yul had it. That was it.
And then they don't go rebury it. Like, you got to find it, or else you figure it out yourself.
Yeah, that's it. And that was so much more fun. Even up till Russell's season, there was one idol in play. There was one idol.
Yeah,
he just happened to keep finding them.
Yeah, he just turned around and found it because, he knew what he was doing.
Which is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Gamer Girl, we've kind of already talked about this. It really irks me that they didn't show Gary finding the first ever immunity idol. I really liked it because it kept a little bit of suspense. Again, Gamer Girl, again, did Nakum sit out the wrong person in the spinning rope ribbon challenge? That's what we're calling it from now on.
They sat out
Who did
Judd.
they sit out?
They sat out Judd.
Judd would have been spinning him would have taken 20 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been too long. Wait, no, did they sit out Judd, or was Judd the one who was helping them spin?
No, they set him out.
They did sit him out. I think that's the right person. I mean, he's too big.
Yeah.
And plus, you know that you're going to want to use him no matter what in the immunity challenge. So why not just get rid of him in something that he doesn't really need to partake in?
Yeah.
Giovanni Ariana, Stephanie loses the game once she votes out Jamie. And what was Bobby John's better game, Palau or Guatemala? Bobby John's better game is definitely Guatemala. Palau was a joke.
He got what he went to Guatemala and he said, I want to make the Jerry. He made the Jerry. Got what he wanted.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, in Palau, to never win a challenge, anybody on the Palau Oolong tribe, if they ever got to play again, their second season was automatically better. Steph's second season was better than that one. Like, even her Guatemala, as much of a disaster as it became at the end, it's way better than her Palau.
She made it to the end.
Yeah, way better than her Palau.
Seriously. Giovanni, Rafe is like Cochran, except he doesn't need advantages. I wouldn't really compare the two.
I mean, it's hard.
It's just because they're both like nerdy redheads. Like, I don't think they're like at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. Giovanni asks, "Are the Nakum 6 like the Friends cast?" They're too mean. The Friends cast was happy,
fun and nice. We love them.
They joke. They have fun.
Yeah, they have fun and a lot of good, positive adventures together.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Ice X, interesting contrast with the first 10 immunity idol where everyone was fine with anyone looking for it, but now where it's suspicious. This was like this for a little bit. I mean, it wasn't as big of a deal back then. It just wasn't.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love it.
Go ahead.
Ice X again. The cigars, they were Lydia's luxury item. I really hope that was true.
That would be amazing. Were they actually? That would be insane.
I don't know.
Why would Lydia be bringing cigars?
I don't know. Yeah, for everyone. Or is she just smoking them in the corner by herself?
I don't know. I feel like that's maybe that's why Lydia's still in the game, because she's just giving everybody cigars and everybody's like, all right, we'll keep you around.
Hey, that's right. Yeah, keep her around.
We like
do what you gotta do.
And then we had Ice X, who said some of his grandpas can't afford CBS All Access. Hey.
Yeah, Ice X. That's why I use Phil's account.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. And that's why I use my parents' account. Moving on.
On to YouTube.
Don't tell them that I put in their credit card information. They're not supposed to know.
Yeah. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. So we have these goes back. So this goes back to the actual last episode where we're going to talk about a little bit from 4 through 6 here. But Survivor Iceland, I'm pretty sure in Survivor Live post-game interview, Danni told the host that Margaret never labeled Judd with ADD when Judd accused Margaret of tribal. Margaret's response was that Judd has problems with recall, which we do see that in the season. We do see her say to him, he just has problems with recall. We don't actually see their first interaction, Judd saying that Margaret tells him he has ADD. I'm sure Margaret just says, Judd, calm down. What do you have, ADD? And Judd just takes it so personally because he doesn't like Margaret. I'm sure that if Bobby John walked up to him and said he had ADD, Judd would have been like, man, I got ADD. Like, whatever. Like, I bet you that's how Judd would have reacted.
That's exactly how it has to have gone. Like, yeah. I cannot imagine Margaret, like the loving nurse, would say that to him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Justin Kane, the best part of Guatemala is Guatemala. Wow, say that 5 times fast. That was great. That was just like a cute little character moment. I loved it.
Yeah, and we get more of it in the next episode, so stay tuned. Claire Burney, you could play a drinking game simply by drinking whenever Judd says man at the end of his sentence.
Oh.
We'd all be blackout, that's for sure.
Man, people were saying that my drinking game is going to get people drunk, but that is so much worse.
That is so much worse. He probably says it 600 times an episode.
Yeah. Brian, episode 4, I loved that Steph and Jamie were taking control with their alliance. The tribe swap I did not see coming. And that top of the pyramid looked super scary, like if you tripped on a step. Also, all the monkey shots are hilarious. The monkey shots are hilarious because the first time we talk about them is how much Judd hates them. So I feel like production just put them in just to like piss off Judd.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. Probably just to give Judd bad memories, bring him back.
Yeah.
I think it's just funny. Like he says, like on top of that pyramid, I do find that to be a little scary, right? I mean, like these people, that's a pretty steep pyramid and they're like chilling at the top. Like if one of them like tripped on their way down, like I'm sure Judd, if he had a couple beers or something, Judd's just stumbling down these things. He's probably going to break a few things.
Yeah. And like how old are those ruins? Like those things could you could really hurt yourself on those.
Yeah. I mean, we had Gary practicing his balance, just walking across them the whole time.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. Brian, episode 5, the first time Danni gets some screen time, and I just wasn't impressed with her. I don't want to be the swing vote line. Booting Blake seemed like a bad move, and like that Steph took control of the catapult challenge. We didn't really talk about that catapult challenge. That one, I didn't like that challenge strictly because once you had figured it out, by where the starting mats were, it was very hard for anybody to actually get back to the back line.
Yeah, because it's such a big, like, bulky thing to carry.
Yeah, so I actually didn't like that one. I think Token Chains is the one that perfected this.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Or like the ones where like everyone has their own personal.
That's Token Chains.
Yeah,
that's when JT loses his tooth.
Oh yeah, man, that was gross.
Great. And he throws it.
Brian, again, episode 6, another great challenge with the giant ball. They seem so much more hardcore than the challenges you get now. Judd and the missing beer was some great TV. A shame that we lost 2 people. Yeah, that missing beer was awesome.
And I like too that we're coming off the aftermath of Margaret getting booted, and we come back to Judd, and Judd's like, I'm a big teddy bear, man. I don't get mad at anybody. I just love like he's like, I stay. What does he actually say? I think I wrote it down. Judd says the teddy bear, not a loose cannon, always happy at camp, and then he proceeds to just keep complaining.
Yeah, and this guy got more food. Like he was trading, or no, he was like taking more beers. It was silly.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
I loved it.
Yeah, he's a nutcase. What are we doing here? Brian says, are we going to skip the recap episode that these older seasons used to do? I can't remember what episode number it is. We definitely are skipping those if it somehow is on CBS. I don't even know if it's on CBS, but yes, we would.
No, they are on CBS because I remember when I was binging old seasons, I would just like keep going, and then I stumbled upon the recap, and I was like,
that might actually be interesting, not to watch for this, but I would just like to watch one of those old ones just to kind of see.
I think because in the moment I didn't like them because they took up like a Wednesday, but
a Thursday, Alexa.
Oh, yeah, way back when. But I don't know. I bet if they put them on now, just like online, I would watch them.
Yeah, and
especially in these seasons where there's so much going on, you kind of need it.
Yeah, and you used to get like a couple behind the scenes things that were going on, and even if they just did like a recap episode in the middle of the season with a lot of camp life or something, that could be interesting. You got to remember too, back then they needed these because if you missed 1 week, like you couldn't just go online and watch it.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of like what Troyzan said. Troyzan was like, let's get all these scenes of like me and Ty catching an eel and just stick them online. Like if you don't want to show them in an hour, that's fine, but put them online so that we can watch.
Yeah, because I think people would like that. It doesn't have to get to the level of like Big Brother crazy, where like you're literally watching live streams 24 hours. But like, throw up some of the fun scenes. 5-minute things. Don't just throw up confessionals or like random little secret scenes like about like strategy. Throw some fun behind the scenes stuff that's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's your turn.
Args 13, is Jamie crazy in real life, or is he just doing that because he knows he's on Survivor? We kind of decided it's neither. We think it was kind of just like a mental breakdown.
Yeah, I really think that he lost it a little bit.
Yeah.
Gamer Girl says, I actually have heard differently on Judd. I've heard he's way better now than he was back then and is actually really nice in real life. I've heard this from people who have met him at Survivor conventions and stuff. I bet you Judd is a great guy to hang out with. Judd's just very New York, like very New York. Like do you remember, we had a friend in college, I don't even know if you remember him. He watches Survivor. You know, I'll throw his name out there. You remember Luber or no? You don't remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was from Long Island. He was Judd.
Same
person. I'm gonna tell
wicked
Luber
Long
listeners
Island.
now. That was his last name, I swear. That's his actual last name. The poor
I didn't even think of that.
The poor kid.
Yeah.
But this guy, they're exactly the same way, where it's just like they're loud because that's like just how they are. Like that's just a very New York thing. I mean, we're both from the Northeast. I mean, it's
I as someone who actively lives in New York, like it's that's the thing. And like we said last time, Judd's harmless. Like he's not I'm not saying he's a good person. Like he's not like an evil.
We don't know. I mean, we don't actually know how Judd is.
Yeah, we don't know. He's just like super obnoxious, but like that's fine. I wouldn't live with him, but like I'm sure he's like perfectly interesting and he's certainly entertaining.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me you wouldn't want to go like watch a sporting event with Judd? I would love to watch a sporting event with Judd.
I would love just go to a bar with Judd. Yeah,
I would love to. I would gladly go. Yeah, in a heartbeat. Arch 13 also. Sorry, I'm cutting you here, but Arch 13 also says, "Do you think Judd purposely said Ancient Room because he wanted Rafe to win, or did Judd say it accidentally?" He definitely wanted Rafe to win. He wanted to make sure Margaret didn't get it.
Yeah, he definitely wanted Rafe to win. But the first way he said it, he was like, "Oh, Ancient Ruin." Like he's like, "Look at me, I'm smart." Like look at me, man. But then he kept
repeating it.
Yeah, but then afterwards he was like, "Oh yeah, I can actually help Rafe win because I won't be able to do this puzzle."
Exactly. I can't get the damn bags untied.
Yeah, Gamer Girl, I'm seeing your comment about your tweets. I don't know why I couldn't see them. That was super weird.
Yeah.
She
deletes them.
Yeah. Survivor Iceland. What is it with these
jibes against Bobby John?
Jibes against Bobby John from both of you. Bobby John played a better game than Brian, period. Who was Brian aligned with, really? Nobody, or maybe Lydia. Bobby John had, before the swap, aligned himself with the majority. After the swap, it was Danni and Bobby John who voted Blake out to win Gary and Amy's trust. In return, they would agree to vote out Brian next. It worked, and they played Brian. Brian played little, with Blake being voted out. It was mostly Danni and Bobby John. Blake in the Survivor Live interview pretty much confirmed this. I thought Brian was a great player.
Here's what I'll say about this. And this happens every time they bring back returning players. Even Russell Swan, even though he got whatever place, it was because his tribe got decimated. When they bring back returning players, it's a familiar face. You feel like you have a natural connection with them. It's the same thing as if you go out on this island and somebody says they're from New Jersey, you're probably going to try to talk to them if you're also from New Jersey. You just have this connection with them. With Bobby John and Steph, you instantly have a connection with them. You've seen them play, you rooted for them, and now you're getting to play with somebody that you're rooted for. They get a lot more of a pass in terms of if they mess up, you might say, oh, well, that's still the Bobby John that I was rooting for. Whereas if Brian messes up, you've never met this guy before in your life, you have no connection to them. So to compare Brian and Bobby John is very hard because Bobby John might not have played a better game than Brian, but people knew him and had grown to like him watching the previous season. Might have been some of the reasons that they came out there, and now they're getting to play with him. When you're playing with your idol's going to get a lot more leeway than some random guy who you just happen to meet.
Wow, really well put. Good job.
Thanks. I just thought of that now, too. I'm very proud of myself.
No, that's a really good point.
So we had Args 13. Really, Brian was voted out because they found him weak. I thought it had to do with the fact that he's a strategist. It just had to do with, I think he's a strategist, he was weak, and because he wasn't in the majority alliance and they couldn't get a majority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Ryan Chan, one thing that's difficult about Guatemala is the producers really have a hard time explaining Danny's win. Apparently wouldn't reveal her thoughts and strategy in her confessionals. She's afraid that production would leak her strategy to everyone else. The same thing happened with Brian booting Morgan. Sorry to bring Morgan's beat up
that's
again.
okay. Anytime we can bring her up.
Also, the playing a bit Morgan was really last minute, so a lot of why Morgan got voted out was not explained very well.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what makes the season difficult. That's especially what makes Danny's win difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's hard because they've never seen this before. And I would be skeptical too, because you got to think this is a show going into its 10th season. They've done 11th season. They've done All-Stars 3 seasons before. You know, they have their favorites, and now you're starting to get to that point where you're like, wait, are they going to keep bringing people back? And you might say to yourself, they only brought 2 of them back. Of course this is who production's going to root for. Why the hell would they root for me? So I could totally see why some of these people were skeptical.
Yeah, for sure.
Ryan Chan says, also do want to say that Brooke and Margaret were actually sitting pretty good. Had it not been for the tribe swap, majority alliance was Brooke, Margaret, Bobby, John, Brandon, and Danny. Judd and Cindy were the next ones to go. Had Nakum lost again. Yeah, but you got to expect swaps to come around. It's just the way that this one went down is rough for them.
Yeah, someone's going to get screwed. I mean, someone's going to get hurt by a swap. Mm-hmm. You know, every time you swap, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Giovanni Oriana, has Amy killed Gary at this point?
We'll have to find out.
Should we like tweet at someone and make sure that Gary's still around?
I mean, or did he get beat and like because what do you call it? Because like Amy has like connections like over at the police department or something, they were able to cover it up, and Gary's just been a missing person. Yeah, he's just been a missing person. We have let's see here. We have Giovanni Oriana. Is Amy like Lois from Malcolm in the Middle? Lois, a horrible mother who personally gave her son a bad life just so he'd be successful. That pisses me off. Like Debbie was at Brad Culpepper. Amy was joking.
Pisses me off.
She's not going to beat anybody. My God.
Definitely joking, guys. I think her and Gary actually had a really good relationship.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Gamer Girl, we can add Bobby John's list of survivors who only wanted to do one thing on the show. For example, Jerry wanted to vote out Colby in All-Stars. She gets voted out 2 votes after Colby. Joe wanted to make the family visit. He gets voted out as soon as he hits family visit. Bobby John wanted to make the spoiler. Yeah, good list.
Why do I not see that at all? I did not see that comment.
Give it a refresh. It was only 18 minutes ago.
Oh, so you skipped a few comments, huh?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. Oh, maybe you didn't. Wait, no, I don't see that comment. Jerk. I don't see that comment at all.
Yes, have you throwing me under the bus?
I don't see that comment.
Oh, wow. So whatever, for whatever reason.
Giovanni Rihanna says, important question, which you prefer, golden or platinum? What was it? I'm the golden boy and he's the platinum? Is that what that was? Is that what it was about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Blake was golden and Brian was platinum.
That's what it was. Okay. Gamer Girl says, Amy and Brandon's vote outs were both sad. I wish Guatemala wasn't forgotten so that they could both come back. Do you think Amy was voted out because of her ankle? And did they vote out Brandon because they thought he was the strongest? Definitely voted out Brandon because he was the strongest. Amy, I think it was just because that 3 was really tight. I think Bobby, John, Danny, and Brandon were all very tight. We just didn't get much of it because only one of them ended up really going that deep in the game.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, is Rafe the Kramer of Survivor? A lot of sitcom references.
No, he's not.
Not at all. Very, very different.
Very different. Kramer comes in and just goes crazy. I mean, Rafe is a very calm, collected guy. Arch13, where's medical for those sunburns? Yeah, that was another thing.
Talk about those. Bobby John is peeling his own shirt off of his skin. That was disgusting.
We should skip.
And everyone had them. Everyone had them.
I know. It's insane.
Yeah, these conditions were insane.
Really crazy. And then Brian says, Phil, what episode makes you not like this season? No spoilers. I know you said something made you not like it. Really, what makes me not like it is that Nakum takes over. That's what makes me not like it. I feel like by the time you hit pretty much almost at this point, you've almost gotten to the point where there's really nobody left as a rooting interest. I like Rafe. I don't love Rafe. I don't think Rafe is the greatest. I don't think I think Rafe deserved the second chance, and I would like to see Rafe play again. But do I have the same connection with Rafe that I did with David? No. I like David a million times more than I like Rafe. It's not a knock against Rafe. It's just that the reason that this season drops for me is that post-merge, I lost my rooting interest. I just really, I'm sitting here rooting for Gary, and spoilers, guys, Gary doesn't win. And so I don't know. It never did it for me because it was just kind of like, okay, you watched Amy go, then you watched Brandon go, and then Bobby John, I really didn't care that he went, but you're watching a lot of predictability and you're losing more of the likable players because really there's nobody likable left.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And they're Steph and Judd are jerks, but the other half of Nakum, there's just not much to them. They're not a very compelling group, and they're also kind of jerks, and they're the ones who make it far.
Yeah, and I'd rather watch Judd play. I'd rather watch 3 Judds out there than, than Sydney and really, I mean, Lydia and Sydney are fine. But in terms of like actual TV, like I don't really like, I'm not like, oh, I got to see more Lydia and Sydney this week.
And we don't even get much of them. Like maybe if we got more, like we'd be more interested in them, but we don't get much of them. Like Rafe's the one who's like, it's like interesting TV on the nice person side.
Yeah. And I was never like the biggest Stephanie fan as it was. Like I wasn't like, oh God, I got to see Stephanie again. Judd, I think Judd's great TV, but you're not really rooting for Judd to win. No. I mean,
you want
like, what are you really left with? What are you really left? Jamie? Anybody rooting for Jamie out there? Where are the Jamie fans?
Raise your hand.
Gamer Girl says Cindy is not invisible. She's getting confessionals, which we're seeing. That's the opposite of invisible. I didn't say she was invisible. I said she's not getting. She's the most invisible out of this group.
I know.
We don't see much of her.
Yeah, did she maybe have 2 confessionals in this 3-episode span?
Yeah, we don't see much. We really don't. Yeah. Even though she's one of the biggest moments this season has.
Yeah, exactly. Well, which again, that's like her shining moment. That's kind of all we get from her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then last one on YouTube is Brian. What about Steph's eye? What happened to Steph's eye? I don't know what happened to Steph's eye.
I don't know. Did something happen to her eye?
I'm not sure. Brooks Hammett said, would this season have been better or worse without Stephanie and Bobby John? It's impossible to say, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't really pave the way because like we didn't see another 2 returnees until all the way at Redemption Island, but it kind of might have made them open up a little bit more to the idea of fans versus favorites, something like that.
Yeah, but at the same, it's not like Stephanie and Bobby John pulled.
Well, they're not Russell.
Yeah, they didn't pull a Coach and a Rob and just like create these cults and just like steamroll away. Like they kind of integrated pretty well, which is different from a lot of these like more recent 2 returning seasons. But yeah, I mean, you can't really tell.
Yeah. And then the last one, Ice X, the medical team is still AWOL, might be on vacation with the Game Changers editors.
Oh, nice.
I like that.
That's how we end it. We got to end it on that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the burn. That was a good one.
I like that. Yeah, so that's it. That's our episode 7 through 9 recap, right? That's it?
Yes. Yeah, we hit the merge, hit the immunity idols, so now we're heading towards the second half, towards the end of this game.
Yeah, and so we'll be live next Wednesday, which is July 5th, so it's right after 4th of July. That's when we'll be live. So find your time to watch it over this extended, wonderful weekend that it's going to be. And yeah, what else is there? I guess the org is almost ready. I think we're starting July 9th, so anybody who actually signed up for that and is listening, it's going to be pretty fun. I mean, Blake's pumped, so
I think it'll be pretty exciting. This will be our first go-around, so we're excited to see how everyone likes it.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, I think that's about it. You got anything else?
No, just leave us a comment on this video if you want us to read it off next week when we talk about the next 3 episodes. In the meantime, tweet at us at Survivor Specialists or Survivor Specialists without the vowels in the word specialist. I'm not going to spell the whole thing out. Give us a follow on YouTube. Give us a listen on iTunes. Tell your friends. And we will be back next Wednesday after the 4th of July.
See you then.